It is very hard for archaeologists to explain how that was done using purely leverage and mechanical advantage.
For 5,000 years, the pyramids of Giza have kept their secrets. Generations of archaeologists have excavated every chamber, mapped every shaft, cataloged every stone, and for 5,000 years, everyone assumed they were looking in the right place. They weren't. In 2024, a team of researchers pointed satellites at the bedrock beneath Giza and found something that shouldn't exist. Massive, vertical pillars, stacked chambers, spiral passages descending more than half a kilometer into the earth. Not beneath the Great Pyramid, beneath its neighbor. And that was only the beginning, because directly beside it, perfectly aligned, the scans revealed a second structure, a twin, hidden for millennia, until now. The Giza Plateau sits 9 kilometers west of Cairo, on the edge of the Sahara. 3 pyramids dominate the skyline. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, the slightly smaller Pyramid of Khafre, and the Pyramid of Menkaure. Between them crouches the Sphinx 66 feet of carved limestone gazing east toward the rising sun. Together, these monuments form the most studied archaeological site on Earth. Since the 19th century, teams from a dozen nations have surveyed Giza with obsessive precision. Every corridor has been photographed, every burial shaft recorded. The plateau has been trenched, tunneled, and mapped down to the centimeter. By the late 20th century, most Egyptologists believed the major discoveries were behind them. Refinement, not revelation, was the work that remained. But the plateau has never surrendered all its secrets. Ancient travelers wrote of tunnels beneath the pyramid's passages that led to hidden halls no living person had entered. Medieval Arab historians described underground labyrinths sealed since the time of the pharaohs. Local Bedouin traditions spoke of forbidden zones where the earth itself seemed hollow. Sound, wind across sand, faint, almost subliminal vibration. For centuries, scholars dismissed these accounts as legend, embellishment, wishful thinking. But legends have a way of persisting, especially when they're true. Traditional archaeology is by nature invasive. You dig, you excavate, you remove layer after layer of sediment to reach what lies beneath. It's painstaking work, and it comes with limitations. You can only dig where access permits. You can only excavate to depths that won't collapse. And beneath monuments as fragile and significant as the pyramids, large-scale excavation is simply not an option. For decades, this constraint defined what researchers could and couldn't know about Giza's subsurface. Then the technology changed. SAR Doppler tomography, synthetic aperture radar combined with Doppler analysis, was originally developed for geological survey. It uses satellite-based radar pulses to detect density variations deep underground. The technique had already proven itself mapping magma chambers beneath Mount Vesuvius, identifying subsurface water reserves, and locating buried infrastructure in conflict zones. In the hands of skilled operators, it could generate three-dimensional models of structures hundreds of meters below the surface without disturbing a single grain of sand. The team that brought this technology to Giza was led by 2 Italian researchers, Filippo Bondi and Corrado Malonga. Both had backgrounds in remote sensing and years of experience applying advanced imaging to archaeological sites where conventional excavation was impossible. Their hypothesis was simple but audacious. Beneath the visible monuments of Giza, there might exist structures that no excavation had ever reached. Features invisible to every previous survey because no one had possessed the tools to detect them. The scanning process was neither quick nor easy. Months of calibration were required before the satellites could collect usable data. The limestone bedrock, the density of the surface structures, and the sheer historical weight of the site demanded extraordinary care. Every orbital pass had to be precisely timed, every signal verified and cross-referenced. The archaeological establishment watched with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. What happened next would divide experts for years. When the processed data arrived, the Italian team wasn't prepared for what they saw. The tomographic images beneath the Pyramid of Khafre showed anomalies that defied geological explanation. 8 massive vertical pillars extended deep into the limestone, not scattered randomly but arranged in a precise, symmetrical pattern. Within each pillar, the scans indicated spiral passages winding downward like the internal structure of a nautilus shell. Between the pillars, 5 horizontal chambers appeared stacked one above another, each directly connected to the vertical shafts. The alignment was exact, the geometry deliberate. At the base of each pillar, the data showed enormous square platforms, 4 in total positioned, as if to anchor the entire system. The scale was staggering. According to the readings, these structures extended more than 600 meters below the surface. The total footprint of the network appeared to span nearly 2 kilometers. This wasn't a single hidden chamber. It was an underground complex, one that, if the data was accurate, rivaled the monuments above ground in scale and sophistication. But the team wasn't finished analyzing, because adjacent to the first structure, aligned with unsettling precision, the scans revealed a second formation, a mirror image, a twin monument hidden beneath the plateau for millennia. If accurate, the discovery didn't just add a footnote to Egyptology. It rewrote the first chapter. The Italian team's preliminary findings triggered an immediate backlash. Leading Egyptologists questioned everything: the methodology, the interpretation, the very possibility that structures of this magnitude could exist undetected. The objections came fast. Limestone is not uniform. Natural fractures, fissures, and variations in rock density can produce anomalies in radar imaging. What looked like deliberate architecture might simply be geological noise patterns imposed by software rather than ancient engineers. The spiral staircases and square platforms drew particular fire. Critics argued these were classic imaging artifacts, false positives created when algorithms attempt to render ambiguous data. Practical engineering questions mounted. How could chambers 600 meters underground remain structurally stable for 5,000 years? How was ventilation managed at such depths? How did the builders move millions of tons of stone beneath an already massive pyramid and leave no trace in historical record? And perhaps the most pointed question of all, why had no inscription, no papyrus, no archaeological hint ever suggested these structures existed? Some critics suggested the Italian team had overinterpreted their data, seeing patterns where none existed, driven by the seductive possibility of a paradigm-shifting discovery. Others were blunter. They called the claims sensationalized, irresponsible, a distraction from legitimate scholarship. But not everyone dismissed the findings outright. A smaller contingent of experts noted that the anomalies, whatever their cause, were at least testable. If the Italian team's methodology was sound, independent verification should produce consistent results. And if multiple independent scans converged on the same structures, the skeptics would have to reckon with something far more uncomfortable than a false positive. They would have to reckon with the unknown. The controversy demanded resolution. An international team of archaeologists, including specialists in remote sensing, muon tomography, and ground-penetrating radar, agreed to conduct an independent verification. Many of these researchers had spent decades studying the Giza plateau. Some had publicly expressed skepticism about the Italian findings. Their credibility was beyond question. So was the pressure. The verification protocol was rigorous. 3 separate imaging technologies would be deployed: refined SAR tomography, muon imaging, which detects density variations by tracking cosmic ray particles passing through stone, and high-resolution ground-penetrating radar. Each method had different strengths and different sources of potential error. If all 3 converged on the same anomalies, the probability of coincidence or artifact dropped to near zero. The process took months. Every scan was repeated. Every reading cross-referenced. Ambiguous signals were flagged, investigated, and re-examined until the team could distinguish genuine structures from geological noise with confidence. Slowly, patterns emerged. The vertical pillars appeared on all 3 imaging modalities: same positions, same dimensions, same symmetry. The stacked chambers registered consistently across every scan. The spiral passages, the square platforms, the twin structure adjacent to Khafre all confirmed. The verification team's conclusion was unambiguous. The anomalies were real. They were not natural formations. They were not imaging artifacts. Beneath the pyramid of Khafre and beside it lay structures of deliberate, sophisticated design. Structures that no one in modern history had known existed. The confirmed structures challenged nearly every assumption about Old Kingdom engineering. 2 parallel monuments extend beneath and adjacent to the pyramid of Khafre. Each contains vertical pillars descending hundreds of meters, far deeper than any known ancient construction. Chambers stack in tiered arrangements that imply precise load-bearing calculations. Spiral passages connect the levels, suggesting the structures were designed for movement, not merely burial. The symmetry between the twin monuments is exact. Their alignment with surface structures appears intentional part of a unified design that integrates what we see with what was hidden. For 5,000 years, the pyramids have been celebrated as the pinnacle of ancient engineering. Now it appears they were only half the story. The discovery does not answer every question. It raises new ones. What purpose did these underground monuments serve? Were they tombs, temples, or something else entirely? How did the builders achieve such precision at depths that would challenge modern engineers? And what else might remain hidden beneath other sites undetected waiting? Giza has guarded its secrets for millennia. It may have more still to surrender. The Pyramid of Khafre still stands where it has stood for 45 centuries. But beneath the sand, beneath the bedrock, beneath everything we thought we knew, a second world waits. The scans have confirmed it. The question now is what it means.